All right, so yesterday we talked about how to write a TDA and we focused just on writing a thesis, okay? So we're going to recap real quick and then we are going to talk about the body paragraph. So TDA should have a minimum of 3 paragraphs. Maybe a compare and contrast should have 4, 1 paragraph for compare, 1 paragraph for contrast. We talked about the first paragraph is your introduction, and this contains one sentence, which is known as your thesis. And to find your thesis, you should tag it. You should find the title, the author, the genre, information they're asking you for, and then your thoughts, which is your answer. And you should provide that in one broad sentence that should review what your whole paper is going to be about. Paragraph 2 is your body paragraph, and this should have the race format or restate, answer, cite, explain, and you should have it at least 2 times to help thoroughly answer that prompt. However, we're not going to sentence count. And then the last thing is your conclusion, and this is 1 to 2 sentences wrapping up your thesis. So, or your paper. Let's look at our body paragraph or paragraphs today. So it is all on how you want to organize it. Do you want to do one long body paragraph? Do you want to do multiple smaller paragraphs? Either way is fine. However, you should make sure that you have the prompt restated, that you are using maybe transitions to restate your prompt, you have the question answered, you're supporting your idea with evidence, you have a sentence starter in the text that states the author claims, comma, quotation mark, give your evidence, and then your answer, this is something we have not done, your evidence should be explained. So what does the evidence show? And how does the evidence support the prompt? So after you find your evidence, you can say this proves or this shows, blah, 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 blah. And this supports because blah, 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 blah. Obviously, I would want you to have to break away from those habits. However, it is important that you can start off using that different or those sentence starters to kind of help you. This format, like I said, should be one complete paragraph or multiple paragraphs, but you need to make sure you completely answer the prompt. So we're going to look at a few examples. Oops, I moved my screen. Look at a few examples of just body paragraphs and look for different elements that they have. Then we're going to actually write one together, and I am actually going to write it on the spot right here for you. It is not pre-written. However, we're going to type it to make sure that we have all the elements and you can kind of see how we are doing that. And then I just noticed up here I have paragraphs and paragraphs again. So, sometimes we make mistakes. However, here's our example. Here's our prompt. We didn't read the story, but that's okay. In the story, Monarch Migration Celebration, Nana is an important character. Analyze how Nana's character impacts the plot. Write a well-written, well-organized, structured response with specific evidence from the story to cite to support your answer. So just looking here, this is the body paragraph, and these are the they made 2 tiny body paragraphs, okay? But let's see if they have the elements. So did they restate the prompt? So it starts with, in the text, the author explains how the girl was asking Nana about where the butterflies have gone. They're restating it and answering it. This right here is known as a transition, okay? So they're transitioning from their thesis to the body paragraph by saying in the text. Then they give us their, let me get a different color. They're giving us evidence from the text, and this evidence needs to be direct evidence. And the way we know it's direct evidence is because it has quotation marks, okay? So I should see quotation marks in all your paragraphs. Just as Nana has said, her grandma is a very important character in the story because she's determined to find out what happened to the butterfly. They have that transition again, and then they're explaining how this evidence supports, or this answer supports our evidence, okay? While Nana and her granddaughter were searching for butterflies in the public library, the girl had an idea to set up her own monarch way station. It didn't take much time to convince Nana to help me save the monarchs, and she didn't waste any time getting them. The evidence from the passage states that Nana is not hesitating to help save the butterflies. So right here, there's your transition and your answer. Here is your direct quote, and we know it's a direct quote because it has evidence around it. And then there's the explanation because they're explaining the passage, okay? So you could either combine these 2 paragraphs and make 1 paragraph, or you can do two separate. However, this is a fourth grade answer, but it still gives you the idea, and you guys should be able to elaborate a little bit more. Okay, so you guys actually in the beginning of the year, the first week of school, have done this exact thing, okay? Except without your explanation. However, now we're going to look at one and write it together. And we're going to start with our thesis. We're going to do a prompt that we know, a story that we know, and we are going to write the whole thing together. So here is our prompt. In the fictional story 11 by Sandra Cicero, the plot of the story produces many conflicts for the main character, Rachel. How do the conflicts help develop Rachel's character in the story? Use evidence to support your response. So let's go over and we are going to relook at this. We're going to tag it and we are going to write our body paragraph and then our conclusion. And this will be a TDA. Let me adjust my screen. Okay, here is our prompt again. The same thing that we are talking about here. And we are going to tag it. And then we're going to start with our thesis. So the first thing we need, whoops, screen moved again. Okay, so let's tag it. In the fictional story by 11 by Sandra Cicero, so we are looking for a title. Our title is 11. We need our author, Sandra Cicero, and we need our genre, and we have all three so we can use them. Then we need our information. So we need to know how the plot of the story produces conflicts for our main character, Rachel. And then how the character helps develop Rachel in our story. And then we need to support it by evidence with our thoughts. Okay, so here we go. We are going to type our answer, starting with our thesis, if I can get my thing to work. Okay, here we go. Let's make this there is my cursor. It disappeared on me. All right, so let's start with our tag it. In the fictional story 11 by Sandra Cicero, obviously on paper and pencil, when you write your TDA, you do not have italics to put your title in italics. So titles can be in quotation marks. This is a non-restrictive element. It's extra information, so we need commas around it. By Sandra Cicero. In the fictional story 11 by Sandra Cicero, the plot develops our character, not our, we don't want to use pronouns, good catch, the character Rachel by introducing the audience to her internal and external conflicts. Okay, so this is broad. We want to keep it broad. This is your one sentence introduction. You always need to make sure that, it is indented. And that's it. There's your introduction. Never skip a line, ever. Next, what you're going to do is going to start in your body paragraph. So we need to start with the beginning of the plot. And we know the beginning of the plot is the exposition of the story, right? So we need to start with, in the exposition of the story, Rachel wakes up and talks about turning 11 years old. She states she does not feel 11. She still feels 10 years old. And sometimes she feels 3 years old. There's our direct evidence. Then we need to explain this. This shows that she has an internal struggle, that she does not actually feel 11 years old and is not, we can make this inference, she is not exactly excited for her birthday, right? She kind of wakes up and she's mopey. She's in a little bit of a mood. She is 11, but she doesn't feel 11, and she talks about that. She actually feels younger than 11. She still feels 10, okay? So we can assume that she is not exactly excited for her birthday. So this is what type of struggle? Because it asks us in our prompt up here. This is an internal struggle with Rachel because we discover, not we want to say one person, or indefinite pronouns, one discovers that she feels every age except 11. Okay, let's keep going. Through after our exposition, we have our rising action and our climax, right? In the rising action and climax of the story, Rachel is forced to put on an ugly red sweater that is not hers, right? She's forced to do this. This is in the text, it states, I believe that sweater is Rachel's. Said Sylvia Salvador. This shows that the students in the class were not nice to Rachel and knew it was not hers, but the other students and the teacher still made her put it on. We explained it. So now we need to relate it back to the prompt. This is an external this is an external conflict for Rachel because one discovers she does not have very many friends, right? So she's struggling. That's her external struggle. Let me move my box down. All right. So we're still not done. We did the race twice, okay? But we still did not get to the falling action and the resolution. So we need to continue. Throughout the rest of the story, Rachel, throughout the rest of the story, a student finally speaks up and states the sweater is hers and not Rachel's. Rachel takes up the sweater but states it's too late. In the text, it states, I want to be a tiny, tiny balloon so far away like a tiny dot in the sky. This shows that Rachel's birthday, is ruined and she wants the day to be over. We can, or one can infer that Rachel is struggling internally because most people are excited for their birthday. However, she woke up not happy about her birthday, and then her birthday was ruined, and she was still not happy to go home and